My name is Emily Davis. I'm 31, and I've spent most of my life being the quiet, responsible one, the person who keeps lists for bills, birthdays, and every "I'll pay you next week" that never comes. My apartment is orderly because control is the one thing I can truly claim in a household that thrives on chaos. That morning, I was in the school pickup lane, balancing a lukewarm coffee and Toby's backpack. He's 6, with an imagination that turns everything into a story worth narrating. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. The voice on the other end was tight, professional, but there was an edge I couldn't ignore. "Emily Davis, could you come to the school right away?" My chest tightened. Toby was fine, wasn't he? "It's show and tell," the teacher explained. 10 minutes later, I walked into a sun-flooded classroom with crayon suns pasted to the walls. Toby sat on the rug, proud as a peacock, holding up a pink phone covered in glitter stickers. A phone I had never seen. "This is Mommy's secret phone," he announced, voice loud enough for 20 children and 2 teachers to hear. My heart froze. "For talking to Grandma so Daddy won't get sad," he added. The teacher cleared her throat. "Toby, maybe put the phone away." Her eyes met mine with a careful mixture of caution and concern. I knelt beside him. "Buddy, where did you get this?" He shrugged, innocent and unaware. "Mommy said, keep it safe. If Daddy finds it, he'll get mad and stop giving Uncle Kyle money." I felt my chest hollow out. Back in the parking lot, my hands trembled as I powered on the glittered device. The lock screen was a cheerful selfie of Toby and my boyfriend, William Davis, smiling like nothing was amiss. But the messages waiting for me weren't innocent. Threads about rent, car fees, bail money for someone named Jace, and my own name used to authorize transactions. The words "Mommy's secret phone" replayed in my mind. Toby's little voice, proud and trusting, made the betrayal sharper. William had always been loving, attentive, and reliable, but here was proof of a side I hadn't seen, a web of family requests bypassing me entirely. I scrolled through months of conversations. Denise, William mother, giving instructions. Kyle, his adult son from a previous relationship, sending pleas disguised as emergencies. William's texts, polite but complicit. Each message chipped away at the image of the normal household I had clung to. The numbers didn't lie. Small amounts at first, $80, $140, $300, but over time it became thousands of dollars in secret withdrawals, purchases, and emergencies that only my energy and patience had covered, and always under the guise of Toby's well-being. I sat in the driver's seat, the glittered phone in my hand, pulse pounding like a drum in my ears. Betrayal isn't loud. It's quiet, heavy. It spreads through your chest, sinks into your ribs, and freezes your thoughts. I wasn't ready to confront William yet. I needed clarity. Toby climbed onto my lap, hugging me. I tried to summon warmth for him while my mind raced. This phone wasn't just a device, it was a symbol of everything I hadn't realized I'd been ignoring. The invisible financial bleed, the passive enabling, the subtle manipulation. I promised myself I wouldn't react impulsively. First, I would understand the scale of it. Months of messages, bank notifications, and hidden charges waited for me to decode them. Every glance at Toby, innocent and trusting, fueled a quiet, relentless determination. I would protect him, and I would not let anyone, including William's family, turn my love for him into a financial lever. This was my first step. The first moment I saw the fracture in the world I had believed was safe. And I knew, deep down, this fracture would grow. Back in the quiet of my car, I opened the messages on the secret phone. At first, I hoped it was just a misunderstanding, an old conversation, a few accidental charges. But as I scrolled, the truth sprawled before me like a map of betrayals. Months of financial requests, each more brazen than the last. Denise asking William to cover rent for her apartment. Kyle sending messages for gas, groceries, tools, bail money for friends. And William, he never said no. He always said yes. I sat there, fingers hovering over the glittered case, trying to breathe, trying to imagine the life I thought we had. Every "for Toby" note, every casual "we'll pay you back Friday," was a small knife hidden in plain sight. For all his charm, William had been complicit. He wasn't malicious, he loved his family, but he had let them siphon money from our household, under the radar. I thought about the nights I had driven doubles, washing away fatigue with coffee and music, just to make sure Toby had new sneakers or that the oil change was done on time. I thought about the little wins that kept our lives steady, like the summer we scraped together enough to buy him a kite. And all the while, the secret phone had been orchestrating a parallel life, one I wasn't allowed to see. Messages scrolled endlessly. Tell Emily Toby needs new shoes. She'll say yes faster. $200 max. Delete after sending. Screenshots of our bank account. My login hints saved for ease of access. Photos of debit cards next to Toby's Lego dragon. Every detail calculated. Every move hidden from me. Justified by love for their family. I felt a strange cocktail of anger, grief, and exhaustion. This wasn't just money, it was control. Every text, every request, a quiet reshaping of our household around their needs, around Toby, and yet without my consent. I had been a silent partner in my own disempowerment. The irony stung. I had always prided myself on being responsible, prepared, measured. I kept spreadsheets for bills, appointments, even gas mileage. I had built a life around trust, predictability, and clear boundaries. And now, a 6-year-old had delivered a truth I wasn't ready for, a device that represented a betrayal I hadn't even imagined. I tried to give William the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he thought he was helping. Maybe he didn't realize the consequences. But deep down, I knew the line had been crossed months ago, and the truth couldn't stay hidden any longer. I made a plan. I would map every transaction, every request, every favor that had come through. I would confront this quietly, methodically. Toby would remain blissfully unaware, the weight of adult deception kept from his small shoulders, and I would decide, carefully, what this meant for my relationship with William and for my child's future. But even as I resolved to act, a cold realization settled in my chest. The fractures went beyond money. This phone was a symbol of boundaries ignored, trust betrayed, and love leveraged as leverage. The confrontation was inevitable, and when it came, the quiet storm brewing in my mind would have consequences no one could predict. For now, I sat in the car, Toby's small hands fidgeting in his lap, and let the gravity of what I had uncovered sink in. The hidden drain wasn't just financial, it was emotional, moral, and it was on me to stop it before it swallowed more than just our savings. The first step had been finding the phone. The next would be figuring out how to reclaim our lives without losing everything I loved. The knock at the door came like a warning. Denise, William's mother, stepped in without a greeting, her presence sharp and commanding. Behind her, Kyle, his adult son, lingered like a shadow, hoodie drawn up, eyes scanning the living room as if shopping for leverage. "Give William his phone," Denise demanded, pushing past me as though the apartment belonged to her. "Hi, Denise," I said evenly, my voice tighter than I intended. "It's private. I need to understand it first." Her eyes narrowed. "Emily, you had no right. That phone is ours. It's just helping family." I held it up. "This isn't just a phone, it's a record of 8 months of financial manipulation, thousands of dollars, every charge, every excuse, documented." Kyle muttered something about ungrateful, but I didn't flinch. I'd rehearsed this moment in my head 1,000 times, mapping out every date, every amount, every text. The glittered phone on the table between us was more than evidence. It was a symbol of boundaries crossed. Denise scoffed. "You always think you're in charge because you write things down. Family is family. William wants to help." I leaned forward. "Family doesn't get to bypass me. Family doesn't get to treat my love for Toby as a ledger to exploit. I've spent nights working doubles, fixing tires, making sure school shoes were bought, and feeding this household, and it's been siphoned under my nose." Denise flinched but recovered quickly. "You're being dramatic. We're all helping Toby. That's what matters." I shook my head. "What matters is trust. What matters is respect. And I've been neither consulted nor informed. This ends tonight." I laid out the binder, meticulously organized. Dates, amounts, recipients, screenshots stapled behind each line. January 14th, $180 to Denise, gas plus groceries. February 18th, $250 to Bail, now LLC for a friend. Every note, every dollar accounted for. William shifted uncomfortably on the couch. He had always been kind, generous, but he had let this happen. The quiet complicity in his eyes cut deeper than any accusation. Denise's hands went to her hips. Emily, if you withhold funds from family, that's abuse. I laughed, low and bitter. Abuse? I provide for my child. I pay for his life. I'm not your ATM, and I will not let anyone treat him or me like one. Kyle muttered something again, but I didn't respond. My eyes were on the binder, on the evidence, on the undeniable reality of the system they had created, one where my love, my effort, and my labor were being siphoned off to feed entitlement. Separate accounts, I said firmly. Written budget, your own card. I get mine. Toby's expenses first. Any other requests come through me, and they get one answer. No. If that doesn't work, we figure out custody, and I keep him for stability. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. The spaghetti steaming on the table seemed to pause midair. Denise opened her mouth, then closed it again. Kyle's eyes darted around, unsure. William didn't speak. Finally, Denise said, in a tone sharp with indignation, "Over my dead body. You're taking that boy from his mother?" I met her gaze evenly. I'm not taking him. I'm protecting him, and myself. The room went quiet, the storm having passed, leaving a fragile clarity in its wake. For the first time in months, I felt a small measure of control. The confrontation was over, for now. But the boundaries I had drawn were clear. I looked at Toby, peeking around the corner, oblivious to the adult tension that had filled his home. My next steps were not complicated. They were necessary. The next 48 hours blurred together in a whirlwind of practical, deliberate moves. I opened a new checking account at a local credit union, switched every deposit and payment, and reset every password. This time with an authenticator app. William's family couldn't intercept. I froze my credit, placed a fraud alert, and bought a small, fireproof box for our most important documents: birth certificates, the car title, passports. I called a lawyer at a legal clinic. She listened to the binder I had brought, each line a thread in a tangled web. Not once did she flinch. "You are allowed to protect yourself," she said, calm but firm. "You are allowed to say no to adults who should manage their own lives." She emailed me a template for a financial separation agreement and a simple parenting schedule that prioritized Toby's school routine. When I returned home, William sat at the kitchen table, arms crossed, eyes tired and wary. The secret phone lay between us like a talisman. "You embarrass me at my mother's house," he said, voice low. "You brought receipts. You like humiliating me." "I like feeding our child and sleeping at night," I said, steady. William's gaze flicked to the phone. "Mom says you're trying to isolate me." "I'm trying to stop giving money to adults who can't manage their own lives," I said. His jaw tightened. He wanted this framed as betrayal, as personal attack. But I refused to give him that narrative. I laid out the binder again. This is not about humiliation. This is about clarity, accountability, and boundaries. The blue card is closed. Debit cards reissued. Joint accounts separated pending review. Effective tonight. He swallowed, silent. I could see the tension in his shoulders, the way he processed that the world had shifted beneath his feet. Over the next few days, I made small, intentional victories. I handled Toby's routines without interruption. I drove extra shifts, fixing small car problems, quietly rebuilding our household stability. I documented everything, keeping the chaos at bay. Even as William's family raged in group chats, tried to manipulate, begged for just one more favor, I remained steady. Toby's laughter, the sound of him flying a kite, became a shield, a reminder of why I was doing this. Each small win, each step toward financial and emotional autonomy was a reclamation of our life. By the end of the month, the emergencies had shrunk. Denise found money by selling an old hutch. Kyle learned that if he showed up on time, his new job actually paid. Our household was finally aligned with our own rules, not theirs. I blocked William's mother for a week, not out of malice, but for quiet. The relief was palpable. The house wasn't full of panic. It was full of normalcy. Toby's sneakers by the door, half-finished puzzles, the hum of the refrigerator instead of ringing phones. I wasn't naive. William and I weren't fixed, but boundaries had been drawn. Responsibilities were clear. Trust had to be rebuilt, slowly, intentionally. And in that clarity, I found something I hadn't felt in a long time: control, agency, and the quiet satisfaction of protecting what mattered most. The weeks that followed were quiet, almost shockingly so. William and I met in public spaces to discuss small details: grocery lists, school events, but never money. The binder, once a weapon of revelation, now lay tucked away, a reminder of boundaries firmly set. Toby flourished in the calm. His laughter echoed through the apartment as he built Lego towers or ran his kite across the park. For the first time in months, I could watch him without a knot of anxiety in my chest. My life had room for him, and only him, without the constant drain of adult emergencies. William and I still stumbled through conversations about family. He hesitated before agreeing to a plan, aware now of the limits I had drawn. But he listened, he learned, and sometimes he even reminded me to pause, to take care of myself. Denise tried one last stunt. She texted William, "Christmas at my place. Everyone contributes $300. He showed me the message. I typed back firmly, "We're doing a small celebration at home, no outside contributions." The relief on his face mirrored my own. Toby would have a normal holiday, and our household rules were respected. We were human, imperfect, still learning. Sometimes William said, "I need you to remind me it's okay to say no." And I would, because love isn't just giving, it's protecting. It's being honest about what can be carried and what cannot. The math finally added up because it was our math, not theirs. Each dollar accounted for, each boundary respected. And in that alignment, I found an unexpected wealth, peace. The house hummed with normalcy. Toby's sneakers by the door, puzzles half finished, the refrigerator quietly humming. I wasn't pretending everything ended like a movie. Denise still believed I was cold. Kyle still tested limits occasionally, and William still hesitated before drawing lines. But I had learned the lesson of the secret phone. Love is not a license for exploitation, and family is not a free pass to drain someone's life. Toby returned to show and tell one afternoon. He carried the kite we had fixed together. In front of the class, he said, "My mom made it fly when I thought it was broken." I stood in the back, watching, and for the first time in a long time, I felt a quiet pride. Not for the money saved, not for the fights won, but for the trust I had earned and the stability I had created. We were not perfect. We were still learning, still navigating past mistakes. But the foundation was there, boundaries, respect, and honesty. And that was enough, for now, for Toby, for me. I looked at him, bright-eyed and unaware of the world of adult calculations that had been fought and won for him, and I smiled, knowing that no matter what storms came, he would always have a mother who could say no, who could protect him, and who could finally let the house breathe with calm instead of chaos.